And hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Backstage. Good to have you back. It's Thursday, and that means another episode. I don't know if you guys are enjoying this 2-episode thing every week. Definitely didn't have that planned to be doing 2. Somehow that ball has started rolling this way, and I gotta tell you, I don't have a problem with it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know below in the comments. Do you like this 2-episode a week? Do you want to go back to 1? Do you want more than 2? I'm not so sure I have the time to do that, but hey, I want to hear from you. Let me know what you guys, how you guys feel about this. In general, just let me know how you guys feel about this kind of solo thing that we're trying out over here. This is probably going to be a very quick episode. It's mostly a follow-up again from what's been going on. Now, just to be fair, though, I did warn you guys that everything going on in the National Assembly at this point in time was crazy. It's madness. So it's only normal that every day going forward, or at least every week, there's something that's going to drop on everything happening, right? And of course, there's nothing else happening because session hasn't opened. The Parliament session begins on the 29th of November. So during this time now, between the elections and the opening of the Parliament, the media needs stories, right? They need to write stuff. So they're all over the place. They're trying to fish information. They're just trying to bring out news. They're trying to create news, whatever it is they're trying to do. So, and because we know that this period, I mean, we've seen certain major things happening, right? I mean, the crisis over at the Liberal Party, the PQ and Quebec Solidaire not having a status, not sure if whether they're even going to be able to sit. So just to be fair, I did kind of warn you that there was things that would keep coming out on these topics, and indeed that's what's going on today with respect to Quebec Solidaire and the Parti Québécois, and the fact that they, like you guys know, did not swear allegiance to the king. And in case you missed it in the last episode, the president of the National Assembly came out with very clear directives as to what it takes to sit in the House. And he was pretty clear on the fact that you need to swear allegiance to the king because these are the rules and regulations that are in place. And if you do remember, I did mention that we hadn't heard anything from Quebec Solidaire. The PQ was quick to come out and respond to that. Remember? I mean, you can go back and check out that episode, but just, very briefly, it was Pascal Bérubé that came out and just completely discredited the National Assembly's president. Said that it's just his opinion. We have legal advice that gives us reason, and we're going to go forward with it. We're going to press the government. We're going to pressure the CAC to accept a simple motion in the House to be tabled in order to recognize the right that we have to sit. Whereas the Speaker of the House came out and said, you need a law. You need to change the law, and therefore you need to table a bill. But Quebec Solidaire was silent. And we did mention that. I told you guys, it's very funny that they haven't come out yet. So what's going on over there? How come they didn't respond? Well, the news dropped today. And early this morning, one of the co-leaders of Quebec Solidaire, Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois, was doing a whole tour of the media, essentially announcing that they will give in to the Speaker's request and they will finally swear allegiance to the King. And the reason they gave was, listen, whether we agree or not with the Speaker of the House, this is what he said, and he is the President of the National Assembly, and we need to accept his decision. And if that's the decision, well, we're going to pinch our nose. We're not going to like it. We're not going to enjoy it, but we're going to do it. But I assure you that it will be for the last time. That's what he said. So they're gonna organize, another swearing-in ceremony where they're going to complete that other half of their oath. He said it's not going to be a big deal. We're not going to tell you where it's going to be. It's probably going to be somewhere, low-key. We're not going to do a whole, hoopla about it. Obviously, they don't want cameras there. They don't want any of that stuff happening. So they're just going to get over with it as soon as they could and get to business. And that's exactly what Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois said. He said, listen, if this is what it takes, we're going to do it. Our goal right now and our first action in the National Assembly as a party will be to table a bill so that we can change it, and therefore next time in the next legislature we will not have to swear allegiance to the king, or at least we'll make sure that in the bill we mention that the swearing allegiance to the king should be optional. Whoever wants can do it. Whoever doesn't do it, and they're both okay, which I'm fine with. Again, go back in the other episodes. I have zero opinion on whether or not you should swear allegiance to the king. I don't care. My whole point throughout these different videos was to show that there are rules in place, and you can't just come in, bend the rules, and expect everyone to accommodate you and to bend backwards so that you can be okay, right? PQ and Quebec Solidaire, don't worry about it. Whatever you want, we'll accommodate you. You don't want to swear allegiance? No problem. Don't worry. It doesn't work that way. There's rules. And thankfully, Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois and Quebec Solidaire understood that it's not going to be their way because there's already a way. There are rules. And that they need to follow those rules. And they acknowledge that, look, you know what? This is what it takes. We don't agree with the decision, but if this is a decision, we'll respect it and we'll go forward this way. All right? It was big because not too long ago, they were saying that forget about it. We're not doing it. We're going to collaborate with the PQ and we'll see what happens. In any case, we have until the 29th of November. We have more than enough time to sit down and negotiate with the other parties and so on and so forth. Things obviously didn't go that way. And thankfully, like I said, they came to their senses. Logic, reason, and common sense prevailed over at Quebec Solidaire, and they're going to go along with what the President of the National Assembly ordered. Now, soon after that happened, obviously everyone's eyes were to the PQ. What are you going to do now? You're left completely on your own, right? I mean, Quebec, if you think of it, Quebec Solidaire, just sold out on their values and on what they believed in so that they could just go ahead and do it, right? I think it's the honorable thing to do, personally. I think what they did was the right thing to do. I know you don't believe in swearing allegiance to the king. Everyone knows that when you say, I swear allegiance to the king, you're lying. It's almost like a fake oath, if you think of it, right? So you got to give it to the PQ. They're staying true to their values. They do not believe in it. It's enough is enough. We don't want to do it. And we'll see what happens, right? They're convinced that a simple motion that would be tabled in the parliament and accepted by all parties would be enough, would be sufficient. It's not, obviously. It's not. But to go back to Quebec Solidaire, did they sell out on their values to sit in the House? I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But in any case, as soon as that happened, all eyes were on the PQ. What the hell is going to happen now? What are they going to say? How are they going to react? And obviously, Pascal Bérubé came out again. Again, we're not going to go through it. I mean, Pascal Bérubé is obviously the most experienced guy in the PQ. He's very well spoken, and he's at the helm of this. He's front row. He's the one leading the charge. And he came out. Well, he didn't come out publicly, but he issued a tweet. It was a thread in his Twitter, whatever you call it. It was 3 tweets that he put out there, explaining exactly what happens. Now, before we go through what Pascal Bérubé said, let's go back to Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois, because during these interviews, in one of these interviews, one of the journalists asked him, "What happened? How did you guys change your mind? And did you talk at all with the Parti Québécois? Because we were under the impression that you were going to, work together to figure out a solution." And Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois said, well, what I just said, obviously, they realized that if this is what it takes and this is what we're going to do, even though we hate it, and, we won't lie about it. I mean, we're not going to do it, with any sort of pleasure. But he did say that they were in contact with the Parti Québécois. And this is his version, right? This is Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois. He said, we tried yesterday, meaning on Wednesday, to approach the Parti Québécois to figure out a way that we can work together so that we can put an end to this whole debacle and figure out a way to just sit in the House, right? And he he said that, the PQ, the door wasn't really open at all for any of those suggestions. So we thought that the only thing left to do was to follow exactly the orders given by the President of the National Assembly. And that's what Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois said. So in Pascal Bérubé's Twitter thread, he explains exactly what happened. So in fact, it's the PQ that reached out to Québec Solidaire in an effort to put together a motion that would be tabled, and what they would do together in collaboration was to kind of put the pressure on the CAQ government to accept the motion, right? So essentially, if you guys don't know the way it works, you want to table a motion, you need consent for that motion to be tabled. And then it's either voted on or it's accepted, whatever. So, I'm guessing in a sign of good faith, what they're probably thinking was to prepare the text and show the parties that, look, this is the motion that we're going to present. Are you okay with it? Before the session starts, this is what we're planning on doing. Is the wording okay for you? If it's not okay, we'll go back and we'll work it. Let us know. They just wanted to be sure that whatever motion they were going to be tabled, they would know beforehand that it would be accepted. So that's their thinking. So that's what Pascal Bérubé is saying. And he goes on, and I'm going to read it here. I'm going to make a loose translation because obviously it's in French. And so he says that, they offered Québec Solidaire an opportunity to work together and to create, to write down a text for a motion, a joint motion, so that they could confront the CAQ together and make sure that the motion would be adopted and therefore end this whole situation, right? So they can go and sit in the House. And then he goes on to say that unfortunately Québec Solidaire decided not to collaborate with the Parti Québécois and instead is rallying with the CAQ. This is very important. They are instead rallying with the CAQ on this file, right? So they're rallying with the CAQ on this file at a moment where there are negotiations happening on the different budgets and the recognition of the parties in the House. Now, let me repeat that. He's saying that Québec Solidaire decided not to collaborate with the Parti Québécois and to instead work together with the CAQ at a time where they're negotiating the different parties amongst themselves on what budgets will be allocated to the different oppositions, and obviously if those parties would be recognized with official party status. Now, we've mentioned this before in other episodes, right? We know how important this is for both the PQ and Québec Solidaire. So just to go back a little bit for those who haven't followed the previous episodes, there were two main challenges right now for the PQ and Québec Solidaire. One was this whole swearing-in ceremony issue where they weren't sure if they'd be able to even sit in the House. So evidently, from what we know now, Québec Solidaire is going along with the rules. They will be sitting in the House. Not sure yet what's going to happen with the PQ. We really don't know. And then the second challenge was if these two parties would be given official party status. Now, official party status, again, if you don't want to go back and listen to those videos, it gives these parties extra money so they can have a research department. It gives them time during question period. They get a bunch of things that would allow them to function in Parliament, right? So they can help them with, different operations and research and having press attachés and all these different things that would make their life easier in the House. And in order to get that official party status, you either need to get 20 seats in the House. You need to get either 12 seats in the House or 20% of the popular vote, which both those parties did not get this time around. So here's the very interesting thing that Pascal Bérubé, because he's letting us into a little secret here on what was discussed, right? And we know obviously that there's negotiations happening. At least if we didn't know, now we know because Pascal Bérubé came out and said it. It's funny because right now we're negotiating amongst ourselves. And how funny, how mysterious is it that coincidentally you decide to drop your values and go along with because don't forget, the PQ still thinks that it was the CAC's orders to the president of the National Assembly to issue that statement, right? So for the Parti Québécois, the CAC is behind all this, all this strategy, right? So he's saying, Pascal Bérubé, that Québec Solidaire sold out on their values. They gave in to the CAC, possibly as a give and take kind of thing, where in exchange for that, maybe, potentially, the CAC would grant Québec Solidaire official party status. And I just find that interesting because these are the little games that are being played now behind the scenes, right? And there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes, right? And, we're not going to get to the Liberal Party because they have a whole other issue that they need to resolve over there with respect to Dominique Anglade's leadership. But this is fascinating to me because, these things really aren't in the public. These things happen behind closed doors. And he brings up a very interesting point, Pascal Bérubé. What are you ready to give in order to take what you really want, right? I mean, when you're weighing things, what weighs more? To have party status or to stay true to your values and not swear allegiance to the king? Obviously, the one that weighs the most, the one that has the most importance is having official party status. What are you kidding me? So the PQ is really playing into this nationalist, separatist kind of ideological value system where we don't like anything that represents Canada. And for those who don't know, the head of state here in Canada is the king. We are a constitutional monarchy, and the head of state, the face of this country, is the king. The head of government is Justin Trudeau, but the head of state is the king. And that's why we have governor generals, and in the provinces we have lieutenant governors. They are the king's representatives, right? And obviously for the Parti Québécois, they want nothing to do with the king. Nothing, zero. Don't even mention king to them. But it's fascinating to me that the Parti Québécois has stuck to their guns so much on both these issues. If you were to ask anyone in the Parti Québécois right now, what would you want? If you had to choose only one, if you had one choice to make, not swear allegiance to the king and remain independent in the House, or swear allegiance to the king and get party status, which would you pick? I have a feeling that they would immediately pick the option where they would be granted official party status. You don't want to lose that. You don't want to lose it. So I'm not so sure what the game is here for the Parti Québécois. They're literally by themselves. They boxed themselves into a corner right now. They got screwed by Québec Solidaire. Probably they weren't expecting it, right? They thought that, look, we have an ally, at least another party. I mean, together we're 14. We're 14 people together. I mean, that's something. It means something. I mean, we carry some weight with that number. We can do something with that. And they were just ignored completely by Québec Solidaire. And I don't blame Québec Solidaire. I mean, they're doing what they have to do. They want to sit in the House. They want the money. They want the budget. They want to be able to function. They want to have their time in question period. It's the smart thing to do. And again, we know you don't like the king, but these are the rules. And I personally, even with respect to your membership, I don't think anyone is going to judge you for doing that because it's so easily justifiable. You can just turn around. Whoever's not happy, you can tell them, listen, guys, these are the rules. We know we hate them, but we have to do it. But we're going to work hard on changing it. And that's exactly what the Québec Solidaire is doing. They're making sure that the very first action they take is to amend that article in the law of the National Assembly that obliges them to swear allegiance to the king. Now, let's talk hypothetical. Let's talk hypothetically for a second. Obviously, Québec Solidaire now is going to swear allegiance to the king. They're going to be able to sit in the House. All right. Assuming also that the Parti Québécois really just sticks to their guns and they're like, we don't care. We're not swearing allegiance. It's done. We said we won't do it. We won't do it, right? So let's take this situation where three parties have sworn allegiance to the king and they'll be sitting in the parliament, and you have one that just refuses categorically to do it. Okay, what will happen on the 29th of November? I mean, that's not far away. You know, it's in about 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks. Obviously, Quebec Solidaire won't care anymore about the PQ. They've made their own decision now. They're going forward with it. They do not care about helping the PQ at this point in time. So I don't think they're going to give any attention to this whole issue whatsoever. It's done. For them, the page is turned. We're going to swear allegiance to the king. Done. Put an X on that. Let's focus on that bill that we want to table. What happens to the PQ? Now, last episode we spoke about the fact that the National Assembly, the President of the National Assembly, gave the authority to the Sergeant at Arms to actually remove the MNAs from Parliament, should they, not swear allegiance to the king. So we know that might happen. But let's say the PQ doesn't want to create any problems, and they're like, you know what, we don't want to cause any distractions. We're not going to pick a fight with a Sergeant at Arms. That's not the goal here. What are they going to do? Are they going to sit out and just wait for something to happen? Are they just going to wait until this bill is tabled and passed? I mean, who knows how long that will take? I mean, it could be accelerated. I mean, it can go by pretty quickly. But what's going to happen? They're going to miss 1, 2, 3 weeks, a month. They just won't come in the parliament. What are they going to do? This is really mysterious to me. It's really bizarre. The possibility of starting a parliament session without the PQ sitting because they're just upset at the fact that they had to swear allegiance to the king, to me is just, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. So Quebec Solidaire, nice little give and take. I don't think Bérubé is wrong. I think it's exactly what is happening. I think they want to focus on those negotiations, on being accepted and getting that party status. And maybe someone at the CAQ said, listen, dude, you can't just want everything. Give up one and we'll talk about the other, right? Now, I don't know how much power the CAQ has to just do this exclusively on their own, because I do know that the Liberal Party has some say in this, right? So I don't know. I don't know if they're negotiating also with the Liberals. I don't know, because the other thing that now just came out in the news today was that the Liberal Party has no problem with changing the bill and making the swearing-in ceremony, especially the swearing allegiance to the king, an optional thing. So it seems as though everyone is pretty much on the same page with respect to amending the law. But what about the party status? What about the party status? I don't know what cards the Liberal Party is playing in this. Again, I'm going to repeat what I said in the previous episodes. I would not grant them official party status. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't. Now, I'm not. I mean, there must be a situation where the CAQ alone can't make that decision. The Liberal Party has a say in this, for sure. Will they fold? Will they grant him that party status? I don't know. In 2018's election, again, both PQ and Quebec Solidaire did not meet the requirements to be given official party status, but the Liberals and the CAQ, and of course the other parties as well, while negotiating, decided to grant them official party status. But they were much closer to the criteria. I think they had over 17% of the vote, so they were really close to the 20. And with respect to to Quebec Solidaire, they had 10 seats instead of 12. So I mean, the Parti Québécois had, I think, 8 or 9. Again, not close really, to 12, but I mean, better than 3. So maybe back then, I mean, the arguments were pretty much more in favor of these two parties. But this time around, they're both under 14%, or under 15%, rather, sorry. And for the PQ, I mean, with 3 MNAs, you're not really close at all to 12. Quebec Solidaire, a little bit. I mean, they're 11. They're one shy. They're one MNA shy of being automatically, of qualifying automatically. I don't know what's going to happen. This is going to be very interesting. And this is an interesting turn of events where Quebec Solidaire just told the PQ, dude, you're on your own, man. We have a more important battle, and we're leaving this one to you. Good luck with that, buddy. So the Parti Québécois is like on this miniature float, on this little raft, floating in the middle of the ocean by themselves, looking for a hand, right? So it's going to be interesting. I just wanted to come in here really quick and give you guys a little update on what's happening. These little games that are being played behind the scenes, what they mean. And again, hats off to Quebec Solidaire for understanding a little bit what has to be done and for doing it. Yes, you're putting aside a little bit your values, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really nothing. Easily justifiable to the membership of Quebec Solidaire. I don't think anyone will be upset with this, especially now because Quebec Solidaire will be seen as the party really taking the lead on this issue. If this bill is tabled and it's debated and it passes, the credit will go exclusively to Quebec Solidaire. They completely sidelined the PQ in this. Completely. For the rest of time, they will be forever remembered as the party that made this happen. They amended the swearing-in ceremony. So this is big for them. And the only thing they had to do was say, you know what, we'll bite the bullet one more time. Like I said before, we'll pinch our nose. It stinks, but we'll do it. But going forward, it's going to be an interesting little credit to our name as a party. So I think it's a big move on their behalf. I think it's the right move on their behalf. And the PQ is just left more and more alone in this whole issue. So there you have it. We'll wait and see how things evolve, if the PQ will keep sticking to their guns or if they're going to come around and just end this once and for all. I mean, it's such a ridiculous issue if you think of it. Something inside me tells me, though, that they probably won't. I mean, Pascal Bérubé has been adamant from the very beginning. I don't see these guys folding at all. So interesting to see how this new session will begin on the 29th of November. Thank you guys for tuning in. Give it a 5-star. Thank you all for the support. And if you want, head on over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. I will appreciate that so much. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Take care.